Joints, Chapter 8. Classification of joints. Bones are too rigid to bend without being damaged, so flexible connective tissues form joints between two bones that hold them together and allows all body movements to occur. We can classify joints either by their structure or by their function. If by function we are referring to the degree of movement permitted by the joint, synarthrosis is a immovable joint, amphiarthrosis is a slightly movable joint, and diarthrosis is a freely movable joint. This it serves their own particular purpose within the skeletal system. The structural classification is based on how the bones are held together and articulate with each other. First, with fibrous joints, there is no joint cavity. These joints are for connecting bones and don't require a lot of movement. There are three types of fibrous joints. Sutures is a fibrous joint composed of a thin layer of dense connective tissue and unite the bones of the skull. A syndesmosis is a fibrous joint in which there is more fibrous connective tissue than in a suture. It permits some flexibility and movement. An example is the distal articulation of the tibia and fibula. The last type of fibrous joint is gomphosis, which is like a pegging socket type of joint. An example is the articulation of the roots of the teeth. Next, after fibrous joints, we have cartilaginous joints. This type of joints allows more movement between bones than a fibrous joint. There are two types of cartilaginous joints. The first is cychondrosis, which contains hyaline cartilage. The examples are the epiphyseal plate in the long bones of children, which allows for bone growth, and the ribs between the costal cartilage. Then we have syntheses. They are meant to be shock absorbers. We can find this in between vertebrae and in the pelvis. Lastly, we have synovial joints. These are the ones that have an actual cavity filled with fluid, which allows for substantial mobility. Articular cartilage covers each opposing bone surface, protecting the ends of the bones in a structure called the joint cavity. A joint cavity is a space between bones that is encapsulated by a synovial membrane and articular cartilage. Articular cartilage is the smooth white tissue that covers the end of the bones where they come together to form joints. Healthy cartilage in our joints make easier to move. It allows the bones to glide over each other with very little friction. Synovial fluid is found in the cavities of synovial joints. It has a egg white-like consistency. The principal function of synovial fluid is to reduce friction between the articular cartilage of synovial joints during the movement. It also provides important nutrients to joints. One important component of synovial fluid is hyaluronic acid. Bursae are fluid-filled sacs that serve to prevent friction between skin, muscle, or tendon. A tendon sheath is similar in structure to a bursae, but smaller. It is a connective tissue sac that surrounds a muscle tendon at places where the tendon crosses a joint. Bursae and tendon sheath provide a cushion between bones. Synovial joints are reinforced by a number of ligaments. Ligaments are bands of dense regular connective tissues that connect bones to other bones. Reinforcing ligaments surround the joint to give it extra strength. There are three main factors responsible for stabilizing a joint: shape of articular surfaces, ligaments, muscle tone, which is the most important. Types of movements at synovial joints. Flexion, extension, hyperextension, dorsiflexion, plantar flexion, abduction, adduction, circumduction, left rotation, right rotation, medial rotation, lateral rotation, pronation, supination, inversion, eversion, retraction, protraction, elevation, depression, opposition. Lateral flexion. There are 6 types of synovial joints. They have varying shapes, but the important thing about them is the movement they allow. Joints determine what positions our body can take. Let's go through them one by one. Pivot joint. This type of joint is found in our neck and allows our head to rotate. Hinge joint. It's a common class of synovial joint that includes the ankle and elbow. Saddle joint. It's a synovial joint that provides stability and flexibility. Plane joint. It's formed between two bones that slide over each other. Condyloid permits movements in two planes. And finally, ball and socket joint. Let's do a review. Sprain is a stretching or tearing of ligaments. The most common location for a sprain is in your ankle. Cartilage damage is a relatively common type of injury. It often involves the knees. And we have dislocation, which is most common in shoulders and fingers. Bursitis is an inflammation or irritation of a bursa. Tendinitis is inflammation or irritation of a tendon. Arthritis is a inflammation of the joints. It can affect one joint or multiple joints. There are more than 100 different types of arthritis with different causes and treatment methods. Two of the most common types are osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis. Gout is a type of arthritis that causes inflammation, usually in one joint. Gout arthritis is caused by the deposition of needle-like crystals of uric acid in a joint.